Florida lawn grasses are subject to many environmental stresses as a result of prolonged exposure to shade, drought, nutrient deficiency, and the effects of vehicle and foot traffic, salinity, and occasional cold temperatures. Biotic stresses result from living organisms such as insects, diseases, or nematodes. Environmental stresses can be managed in two ways. 1. Choosing the most stress-tolerant species or cultivar for a particular area. And 2. Using proper cultural and management practices to alleviate the effects of the stress. Practices that reduce environmental stresses include the following. Moderating nitrogen fertility. Nitrogen encourages the plant to form new tissue and grow. When nitrogen is applied in excess, more energy reserves are used to form new tissue that can be replaced by photosynthesis, and the grass becomes more vulnerable to stresses. Less reserves are then available for recovery from or avoidance of other problems. Mowing at proper heights. Mowing below recommended heights removes a large portion of the shoot tissue available for photosynthesis. This leaves the grass less able to support itself or recover from injury. Irrigating when the grass needs water. Over-irrigating leads to the failure of many lawns by increasing fungal problems and limiting the root system to the top few inches of soil. Many environmental stresses lead to increased disease or insect problems, which are often treated chemically without changing the cultural practices that initially caused the problem. Chemical treatment in these cases will not take care of the problem until the cultural factors are handled correctly. Most landscapes include shaded areas with shade coming from either trees or buildings. This shade can drastically affect turfgrass growth depending on the degree and duration of shade. In many landscape settings, grass receives a minimum amount of light for enough of the day to maintain adequate growth, even if an area is shaded for other portions of the day. In some situations, however, grassed area may be shaded for most or all of the day, making it difficult for the grass to obtain either an adequate intensity or duration of light for growth. Under shaded conditions, turf grasses have elongated leaf blades and stems as they attempt to obtain sunlight by outgrowing their neighbors. This reduces their overall health and vigor. Coverage is also reduced, and the bare ground that results is conducive to weed growth. It is generally not advisable to grow turf grass in heavy shade. Other ground covers or mulch should be used in these sites. For areas receiving moderate amounts of shade, however, certain species and cultivars may be able to maintain suitable growth. Specific management practices also encourage better turfgrass health under shaded conditions. Some species are particularly well suited for use in shaded areas. Within these species, certain cultivars sometimes maintain considerable advantages when grown in a shaded environment. These species and cultivars include the following. St. Augustine grass is somewhat better than others for growth in partial shade, although it also performs well in full sunlight. Cultivars that exhibit the most shade tolerance include Seville and Del Mar. Floratam, Floratine, and Florilawn exhibit somewhat less shade tolerance. Zoysia grass is another good choice for partially shaded areas. Like St. Augustine grass, it also does well in full sunlight. Generally, any cultivar of zoysia grass performs well in partial shade. Bahia grass is not recommended for use in shaded conditions, but centipede grass tolerates some partial shade. Seashore paspalum and Bermuda grass do not do well in shaded situations. The following management practices produce better turfgrass growth in shaded situations. Increase the mowing height for grasses growing in the shade. For instance, if you normally cut St. Augustine grass at a 3-inch height, increase the cutting height to 4 inches. This allows for more leaf area to intercept as much available light as possible. In addition, leaf blades are longer and narrower in the shade, and a lower cutting height excessively reduces leaf length, which is not good for the grass. Increased mowing height also promotes deeper rooting, which is one of the key mechanisms of stress tolerance for turf grasses. Reduce fertilizer applications to turf growing in shade. The grass grows more slowly in a shaded environment, which reduces fertility needs. Too much nitrogen fertilizer depletes carbohydrates and produces a weaker turf system. If you normally apply 4 pounds of nitrogen per 1,000 square feet yearly, apply 2.5 to 3 pounds to turf growing in the shade. Limit any single fertility application to no more than 0.5 pounds of nitrogen per 1,000 square feet at any one time. Water use is substantially reduced under shaded conditions, so adjust irrigation accordingly. If the irrigation system covers an area that is partially shaded and partially in sun, consider removing the sprinkler heads from the shaded areas and irrigate by hand when rainfall is inadequate. Avoid the effects of vehicle and foot traffic. The grass is more easily injured by traffic if growing in shade. and may not be able to recover adequately. Also, traffic in shady areas may damage a tree's roots, resulting in the decline or death of the tree. Monitor for weed pressure. Weeds are able to outcompete turf in certain situations, and will seek out these opportunities. In a shaded environment, lateral turf grass growth and ground cover may be sparse, leaving bare ground suitable for certain weeds. Treatment with a pre- or post-emergence herbicide may be necessary. Use caution, however, when applying any chemical treatment to a shaded lawn, as there is greater chance of phytotoxicity, toxicity to plants, when a grass is under stress. Also, many herbicides can damage landscape trees and shrubs. Monitor for disease pressure. In many shaded environments, there is less air movement and more humidity, which may increase the possibility of disease. Again, use caution if applying pesticides to a turf that is already under environmental stress. In particularly troublesome areas, consider other ground covers besides turf. Examples include ivies, liriope, mondograss, and Asiatic jasmine. Remember, the key to a successful landscape is right plant, right place.